Hey, what's going on YouTube? So sorry for the clickbaity title, but I actually think the set is really good. So the story goes, I was making YouTube videos and I ran across a set that looked interesting when brainstorming build ideas. Turns out that this set is actually pretty comparable to Pillar of Nirn, the most overused set, and rightfully so in ESO. Furthermore, this is a good alternative for 1-bar builds, especially when you pair with the Oakensoul ring because of the Minor Slayer, thus making Reliquin a little bit less necessary for medium armor builds. The set in question is called Venomous Smite, and this set drops in Western Skyrim, Overland, and is actually really strong. So compared to Pillar, it has a bit less damage because of the longer cooldown, but what it does better than Pillar is that it has a stronger 2 to 4 piece bonus. Instead of a line of max stamina, it gives a line of crit as its second piece, thus being accessible on both bars because most commonly Pillar is only run on 1 bar. On top of that, the proc is also a bigger AoE, meaning it can help with cleave for certain situations. And here's a comparison of the two AoEs real quick. And most importantly, it is super easy to farm compared to some of the other options. So next, if we compare this to Reliquin, a Reliquin proc is stronger and hard to execute in certain situations. But because Reliquin gives Minor Slayer, it's an important set to body, especially for builds that don't use Oakensoul. As I said earlier, because Oakensoul now has Minor Slayer, using Venomous Smite is actually not a bad idea for stamina 1-bar builds. So here's the results that I got using Venomous Smite. So I did test it on 2 Bobo builds, and there's crit RNG, but I did do a few tests to try to even the playing field, and here are the results. The Stamina Sorcerer DPS was literally the same, both at 112k. This was done with gold venomous weapon and 3 pieces of purple jewelry. And as far as the 1-bar Nightblade DPS test was concerned, it was about 3k lower on average. The DPS difference probably can be equated to the proc being on 1 bar, meaning that the proc was always firing off cooldown. But if we take a look at most 2-bar builds, unless you're actually mindful of keeping your pillar uptime as best as possible, realistically you're missing a second or two, and the better 2-piece bonus compensates for some of the lost DPS of the proc. Meaning that because we have crit as our 2-piece bonus, that crit chance is always going to stay depending on which, and it's not dependent on which bar we're on. So in conclusion, Venomous Smite is actually a really good slept on set and usable in any build as a pillar alternative, and also can be good for 1-bar builds as a Reliquin substitute. Keep in mind that Venomous Smite is not better than them, it's just almost as good, but it does have its pros and cons, as I stated earlier, and I think that wraps it up. Anyways, I hope this video was informative, and as always, thanks for watching. Feel free to ask any questions or leave any comments, or better yet, come join our Discord. Link is in the description. As always, thanks to my YouTube members, and see you in the next one.